Hi guys, this is Jacqui Cooper with JCooperTravels, and I have Justin Smith on. We have continuing podcast series on all different topics involving travel. For those that know the J. Cooper Travels, you'll know that it is both a little bit of travel and a little bit about inspirational stories, how businesses get started and how we navigate through life. Justin, I know that you had, and I have talked before, but those that might be new to listening, can you share more about your company and your travel space, and you also have a great magazine, and you're doing so many things. So just so people will know, so they can actually reach out to you on the pocket, that I'll just mention everyone, there is going to be a little block underneath the podcast. So you'll be able to reach directly out to Justin and book some of his tours and things like that, which I highly recommend.
Thank you. The Evolved Traveler is a company that is based in sustainable tourism and building a sense of global community. We do tours to anywhere in the world, and we don't do set departure dates. Everything is customizable. You'll see on our brand new website, which will be live on Friday. I'm very excited about that. And we'll be live, and you'll see plenty of different destinations and itineraries, but everything is customizable. You can take one of those that you see on the website and customize it, or you can just come to us and say, hey, we'd like to go to Egypt, or we'd like to go to Peru, and we'll make a completely personal journey for you. But we've always catered to small groups, families, couples, and solo travelers. So for us, we already are in kind of that niche that everybody is saying is the new normal. To us, that's pretty much how we operate to begin with. So we feel like we're well suited for what the current situation is. But again, I would say the two most important things about us are that we are based in sustainable tourism. We do try to help inform our guests a little bit more about what that is so that they can help make an impact too. I myself am certified in sustainable tourism, and then building a sense of global community with our evolved experiences, which we touched on quite a bit last week. And that is where we incorporate certain experiences within each itinerary, where we go a little bit deeper and you meet with the locals, you make an impact on the communities that you visit.
And one of the things that I'll give you another plug, and then I'll also share more about what I'm doing. The reason why I am so encouraged by your whole focus is about the sustainability, because I know in traveling it is so important to support the local community, and to remember that we are literally visitors in their homes. And so they can provide us, a great experience and a lot of wisdom, based upon their culture and history. But I love the fact of helping sustain them, sustain the environment, and keeping everything in a circle of respect and honor, because I know that as we travel, sometimes we forget, we think we're the one and all, but actually we're just, there temporarily, and they still stay there after we leave.
That's right, and that's you said it. No, I say it in a different way, but you made a point that I make frequently, and that is we are not going to Peru land and Disneyland or that type of thing. This is somebody's home. This is somebody's community. This is somebody's country. How do you want to be remembered when you're there? But on the opposite side of the spectrum, how do you expect visitors to our country, to your home, to act? And when you put it in that perspective, it's a pretty easy equation. You're going to treat those people, you're going to go to somebody else's country, home, community, with the same respect that you want in yours.
I know. So today we're actually going to have a very interesting conversation, because we're going to be talking both about places that we've been, and some of the memories that we have as both travelers as in in the travel space, as well as some of the places on our bucket lists. And one place that was on my bucket list for a long while was Stonehenge. And I was able to actually visit Stonehenge during the summer solstice a few years ago. And again, this is what was very interesting to me. And you'll take a look at all the people that are here during a summer solstice. These are this is a very old site. And everyone was yeah, it was beautiful. And everyone was very respectful, and the energy was very exciting. But I can also picture it when it was empty.
Oh, wow.
And it's the whole idea of why the stones were set up. And it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating. And I know that you talked about other sites that were similar just if you look at the size of the stones and then also the carvings, it just is mind blowing as to how did they get them to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something though about, you talk about travel memories, and we're so fortunate to have traveled to the places that we have and the amount of places. I know, that is probably the biggest blessing I consider in my life. But you said something about being empty, and it reminded me of one of my absolute favorite memories. And that is in Sienna in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
I had arrived the day before from the US, and I was jet lagged and woke up probably 3 o'clock or so in the morning, could not get back to sleep. So about 4:30, I thought, all right, I'm just going to go walking. And for the next 2 to 3 hours, I just walked. And for the first probably hour and a half, 2 hours, I walked Sienna without another soul in sight. And it was one of the most amazing experiences. And then to cap it off, I got to see the city come alive, see the cafes open, see the people begin biking through the old town since it's pedestrian. But even, just seeing the piazza come alive, and the chairs being put out, and the smell of the coffee beginning to loft through the air. To me, that was one of my favorite experiences. I will always be thankful for jet lag on that one occasion, because it really was a special thing just to walk through Siena by myself with nobody else in sight, and then to see a city truly come alive. So when you said, alone, that really triggered that memory. But going back to your point, yes, we were talking about the stones and the different places. You can go from one place in the world to another, be it Egypt or Peru with the Inca or the Aztecs. And, the stones are so well cut, and we know they didn't have anything close to the type of machinery we have now. How were these stones cut? And there's examples I know of in Peru, at Sexechuan and Ollantaytambo, where these stones are just so flat, they're so perfectly cut that you literally can't get a piece of paper through them. It's astounding what history is out there, and we don't even know how it was done. And that, that carries through multiple civilizations. And to me, that's always one of the most astounding parts of travel. Just those mysteries, the history, and I've never ceased to amaze by those things.
And then you have the contrast between the city and then when my daughter and I went to Tanzania, and we went on like 10 days of safari to all the various parks, and you get so close to these majestic creatures, and it's
Rush hour.
it's just amazing.
Oh, great
um and then you have the sunsets. So it's the whole culture and the whole lifestyle is so different than what we experience, that it just it takes you, it is an out of the world of feeling that you can kind of just go back in time.
It is, or in another world in a way, in your own life. I know for me personally, I always feel like I'm at my best when I'm traveling. My senses are heightened. I'm the happiest. I think because I'm experiencing new things. I'm doing, repeating myself. I'm doing new things, but I'm meeting new people. Even if it's places I've been before, chances are I'm doing something new. But I mean, it just, you're out of your natural element. And I think that is why we travel. If you want it to be like home, as the saying goes, stay home. But there are so many wonderful places. And I mean, I've done 2 safaris, and they are 2 of my most wonderful travel experiences. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's had a bad experience on a safari. Even on the different game drives, no 2 game drives are ever alike. So they're just spectacular. And you had those wonderful shots of the elephants, which are my absolute favorites. And elephants are a big cause for me, and we try to incorporate that into our evolved experiences and the care for them, and anti-poaching measures, etc.
We have to, and and they're also, that whole community is also suffering because of COVID. A lot of the community overseas is being impacted because of not having the tourism. So just like here, but the other thing is, we have such beauty, and I'll show it to you in a quick second. Even just close to home. I mean, here we have, parts of Hawaii, Kauai, that,
Yeah, Kauai is my favorite.
yeah. So, and, so again, you can, even in our, I'll go to a different picture that will show, not so much the Grand Canyon, but the canyon that's in, Kauai, it's just,
Wailea.
the Waimea Canyon.
Oh, Waimea, yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wailea
let
is
me, I'll share screen so I can show it. Again, I'm just going through some of my travel albums because it looks like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, no, it is spectacular. Kauai is spectacular. And it's one of those places that there is a palpable positive energy. It's like Machu Picchu is one of those other places where the energy to me is just palpable. Kauai is truly a special place.
And here's one of the waterfalls that's there.
Yeah.
There. So
Were you on the helicopter tour?
no, we didn't do that. We were driving all over the island because my brother actually lives there. So
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
The Kauai is my personal break place. That when I want to break, I go to Kauai.
Yeah. So what other bucket list places do you have? I know you've traveled a lot more than me, and I have a long list to go. So
right now, top of my list is Rwanda and gorilla trekking. I really want to go gorilla trekking. And then also to South Africa. I've done all of North Africa and parts of East Africa, but I want to go to South Africa. I want to do Namibia. So all of that, Blue Train, all of it, spend quite a bit of, I want to spend a good week or 10 days in Cape Town. But first and foremost would be Rwanda and the gorilla trekking.
So I do want to mention, I love to backpack, but I also like the luxuries, but I like traveling light, and I love traveling by train, because even though I'm happy to drive, I think that it's always nicer when someone else does the driving. So I've taken trains in Europe, and as well as the United States, and
I love the trains in Europe.
yeah, they're really, really nice. And what's really cool, because that's how we did, we flew into London, and we trained all the way up to Scotland, and then went back around towards Wales, and then back to London. And we were able to see, the coast, and we met such fascinating people, and the trains are in such nice condition.
And it's just sort of relaxing. If I'm designing, or we have an itinerary in Europe, I always include the train because to me, not only is it convenient, but it adds a layer to the experience. You're in a car anytime you're at home. Sit back, relax. We'll have somebody put the luggage on the train for you. Don't worry about it. But just enjoy it. So I always incorporate the trains because I really do believe it's part of the experience. And of course, parts of Asia are the same. You can do it in Japan. You've got to take the bullet train, and of course, it's so fast. But it's the same thing. There's always somebody to assist you, and it's not like it's a chore by any means. So I'm a big fan of trains.
Yeah, I love the food on the trains. You talk about Japan. That when we were in China, we went from Beijing down to Shanghai on the train, and that was so fast. And again, to see all the different stations and to see the different languages, and it's a whole different experience. One of the memories I have when we were in London on the train, because there weren't a lot of seats, sometimes you could get seats, but this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a time that we would often stay at either a youth hostel or a smaller hotel area and then do day trips on the train. And so I guess it's called the Ascot. It was the horse races.
Yes. Mhm.
And so there was like this large area between the two cars, and so people were just standing waiting. And so you had the men with the top hat, and you had the ladies all dressed up, and they were training to, yeah. And it was just, and everyone, they knew we were Americans, and we started conversations, and it was great. It was, everyone was very open to talking to each other, and just um unlike sometimes the subway situation where we're here, locally, where you just don't, you kind of try not to acknowledge that another person's near you. When you're traveling, all of a sudden you say, hi, how are you, where are you from?
Yeah. One of the great training experiences I had was with Belmont, at the time Orient Express, but and I took it from Bangkok down to Singapore. 3 nights on the train, 2 days, and just spectacular. Not only, just you got off and you did a daily excursion, but the service on the train, the lounge car, the dining, just spectacular.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I often will discuss that with many of my clients too, that it's such a wonderful experience to do. And of course, I would love to do the true Orient Express, all the way from either London or Paris through to Istanbul. So hopefully someday we get to do that too.
That would be great. Have you been on the Grand Canyon Express, the train?
I have not.
I have.
I'm one of those. This is awful, but I always readily admit it. I have seen more of the world than I have of my own country.
Well, you'll have that, put that on your bucket list. But we took on one of the trips when we were training from one side of the country to the other. We were planning a stop, so to the Grand Canyon. So we ended up connecting to the Grand Canyon Railway, and it's the old chugga 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 and a type of railroad, and it was
Steam
great.
engine, the old steam engine.
Exactly. And it took us out to the rim, and we were able to get a room at one of the lodges there. So we were able to spend time and then take the tours on either side, and be able to walk it at night and so that type of thing. So, but definitely, anytime I have a chance to add any sort of rail to a trip, I always do.
Yeah, I agree. I do the same. Anything like that that adds a layer, adds something to the experience, I think is a must. Because as I say, you can be in a car all the time. Chances are you're in a car every day at home. You don't need to do it when you travel. And even if you're up for it, even walking tours are better than being in a car. There's nothing. I just do not care for, oh, look to the left, look to the right, there it is. It's no, you got to touch it, you got to be there, you got to experience it.
Another rail experience that popped into my mind while you sharing is we were up in Scotland and we were touring around and someone said, because we were talking about Harry Potter, and they said, well, you've got to go to, I think it was Fort Johnston. I'm forgetting the name of the town. I can see it in my mind, but you got to go there because then you can get on the train for that Harry Potter was filmed in. So I called, it's the type of thing where also we didn't book our hotels. We would always book a day later when we knew which way we were going. So I called and said, okay, do you have a hotel? I got a hotel room. And then we tried to call to get the tickets for the rail. And they said, well, there's no advance ticket you can get, but you got to get here like 2 or 3 hours in advance. So I asked Ariana, I said, are you up for it? She said, yeah. So we went and we knew that if they were telling people to get there 2 hours, we'd have to get there at least 4. And so we got up at the crack of dawn and waited, and we met people in line waiting for the tickets, and it was a wonderful conversation. Then we got on and we did the train trip that you see in the movie and everything, and went to the fishing village that it ended up, walked around, had lunch, and came back. It was just great.
And some of the best train rides in the world are relatively short. You've got the Glacier Express in Switzerland, which is just a 1-day trip between St. Moritz and, oh gosh, I forget the other town, but it's about an 8-hour journey. And then you've got the train ride between Oslo and Bergen in Norway, which is considered one of the best scenic trips in the world. And that's just a few hours. And I know I've done a couple of them in Norway that are just stunning. Up around Flam and Gudvangen around the fjords, and you might only be on it for about 3 hours, but I mean, it just is fantastic.
Yeah.
But the Glacier Express is only an 8-hour trip, but it is just spectacular.
So our conversation today has been a lot of fun. I know we're going to be continuing.
Yep.
For those that, again, want to reach out to Justin, the contact information will be there. For those that would like access to a wholesale discount booking platform that I have access to, that's a little bit different than what Justin is providing. I'll provide information on that, and definitely subscribe on the YouTube, subscribe on the podcast. Stay tuned for future conversations, and thanks, Justin, for being on today.
Thanks for having me. As always, enjoyed it.